Okay, well, let's get going here. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Cindy Erickson, Tour Coordinator for Westworld Tours, and I'll be facilitating the presentation this evening. Joining me to tell you all about the incredible sights you're going to enjoy on this tour is our Westworld Tour Director, Koral Romanchuk, and Shauna Carter with AmaWaterways. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Hi, everyone. So nice to be with you this evening. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everybody from beautiful British Columbia. Happy to join you this evening.
Well, we're glad to have you with us as well, Shauna. Thanks again. But before I turn the presentation over to these two lovely ladies, I have a couple of things I'd like to go over with you. First off, let's see here. First off, I want to tell you about questions. We do encourage you to ask questions at any time throughout the presentation. But that being said, we do have everyone muted and ask that you please type your questions into the Q&A box located on your screen. And if you've joined us on Facebook, please type those questions into the comment section. And we welcome them again, like I said, at any time throughout. And be sure to stay with us until the end of the presentation when we do the questions, as I've got a great deal to share with all of you this evening. First off, we've got our lineup of our upcoming presentations. And on March 17th, we want you to put your green on and celebrate St. Paddy's Day with us as we chat about our Women Explorers Shamrocks and Shenanigans tour to Ireland. Going to be a fun evening. And then on March 23rd, we're going to explore the last frontier as we talk about our Alaska all-coach tour. And we do still have a bit of space left on that June 9th departure. And on March 30th, we are going to travel to the land of fire and ice in Iceland. A great tour, not to miss that evening for sure. And if you've missed any of our previous live presentations, we do have them all available for viewing on our website at westworldtours.com. And if you'd like to receive invites to future presentations, as well as timely information on new tours, we recommend that you follow us on Facebook and sign up to our email newsletter. You won't be inundated with emails and you can unsubscribe at any time. There may be a few more emails than normal right now as we keep everyone informed on our virtual presentation series. And I'm going to launch a poll onto your screen here and give you that opportunity to sign up for our newsletters. And here we go. I'll give you all a chance to reply to that. You can reply for or sign up for our Westworld Tours newsletter or our Women Explorers, or both. And certainly if you're already receiving it, let us know that as well. And on Facebook, you can send us a private message with your email and we will make sure that you get added to that list as well. So it looks like everybody's had a chance, so I'll just close that right now. Thanks everybody for responding to that. Okay, and a little bit about Westworld Tours here. As Western Canada's premier tour company, Westworld Tours has been serving Canadians from coast to coast with escorted travel throughout North America and around the world since 2000. Presenting quality components, including modern, comfortable coaches, professional tour directors, experienced, courteous drivers, baggage handling, and excellent accommodations. We take in all the important sites and attractions and include several meals throughout the tour. Thousands of passengers have chosen our first-class style of touring, enjoying the great value, security, and stress-free environment, all while making new friendships along the way. We know our tour directors, like Koral can attest to, I know, love to meet everybody on board and great and really enjoy seeing those familiar faces. And speaking of familiar faces, I'm going to launch another poll on our screen because we would really love to know how many of you this evening that are watching have traveled with us before. So I am going to launch that right away and give you all a chance. So please let us know if you have traveled with us before or if you haven't traveled with us before. It's always interesting to know. I'll just give you all a few minutes to respond. And then I'll share those results with you. Okay, Wow. It looks like about 63% watching this evening have not traveled with Westworld Tours before. And that's awesome. We're glad you joined us to learn a little bit more about us. And we can't wait to welcome you on board. And 37% have traveled with us before. And I'm sure many of you have met Koral personally. And I know she can't wait to welcome you guys back on board as well. It's great to see those familiar faces. So thanks everyone again for joining that. And let's see, now we're going to move into, if my computer will cooperate, there we go. As you all know, we are traveling to Portugal this summer on our President's Tour, and Portugal is welcome Canadians, and we can't be more excited to take you there this summer. You'll start your journey in Lisbon, one of the oldest cities in the world. You'll travel to the former summer residences of Portuguese royalty in Sintra. Beautiful city, unbelievable. When you see the pictures coming up this evening, you're just going to go, wow. Sampling the many Portuguese delicacies along the way. You'll go from traditional fishing ports to white marble quarries to a basilica so large that it can accommodate 300,000 people. Now, I can't imagine being in there when there's 300,000 people in there, and I don't believe there will be 300,000 people when we visit, but that's how large it is. We're going to visit up to 8 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, one of them being the former seat of the Order of the Knights Templar. And we'll top off your trip with a 7-night stay on board the luxurious AmaWaterways, winding along the Douro River. What a great way to relax and spend the last part of your journey through Portugal. You'll ramble through vineyards and charming native farms that are clinging to the sides of the Douro Valley. You're going to taste wines from historic wineries and soak up the genuine beauty of Europe's most unadulterated landscapes. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Koral, who's joined us this evening. And Koral has been with Westworld Tours for over 20 years, having traveled the globe extensively, setting foot on all 7 continents, bringing to her role as senior tour director a wealth of knowledge and experience. So she's going to share with you the land portion of this journey through Portugal. So welcome, Koral, and we can't wait to hear what you're going to share with us this evening.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Once again, everyone who's joining us tonight, it's really a pleasure to be with you. I'm just sitting here grinning to myself because I'm thinking about what Cindy said and how true that is. I am really anxious to see all of my friends in travel again, and those of you who travel with Westworld. So a big welcome to those of you tonight whom I know and whom I've had the pleasure of traveling with. And I must say it's quite exciting to hear that high number, how many of you joining us this evening haven't traveled with us. That's very exciting. So it's a pleasure to meet you virtually this evening, and I certainly hope to meet you in person when the time comes. As Cindy said, I have had the pleasure of being with Westworld for a number of years, since 2001, and I know so many of us, myself included, are just so looking forward to traveling again, and we're all really excited about that. This is going to be just a really lovely presentation of slides for you this evening, and I look forward to welcoming you now to the land portion of the Portugal tour. I think many of us who love to travel also like looking at a map. I know I certainly do. I always enjoy a good map. So the top part of the map, I'm going to let Shauna elaborate on that, because that is primarily the cruise portion of the tour. But if we go down to the bottom part of the map, you can see the little airplanes on there. We begin our tour by flying into the capital city of Lisbon, Portugal, and we end by flying home out of the city of Porto. Right by the airplane down by Lisbon, near the bottom of the map, you can see kind of a little square area, and over to the right-hand side, it shows some of those towns and places that we'll visit, just a little bit larger. Places like beautiful Sintra that Cindy just mentioned, Cascais as well, Estoril, Cabo de Rosa, Roca. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes time. And of course, the city of Lisbon. So we'll be going out to Evra and Estremos. We'll be making our way up towards Tomar and a very famous home of Catholic pilgrimage, which is Fatima, or Fatima, if you prefer, all the way up to Coimbra and then in Porto. So yeah, it's so much to see in this beautiful country. And I must say, I'm a huge fan of tours myself that combine a land tour with a cruise tour. River cruising is so wonderful. Shauna is going to be telling you all about that tonight, but having the opportunity to experience a country from both perspectives is really, really special. I have had the opportunity of cruising in the past with AmaWaterways, although I haven't been on this particular ship before. I can certainly attest to how wonderful they are. The beautiful food, just the beautiful atmosphere, everything about river cruising is so lovely. So it's really a fantastic combination, having land and water as part of our cruise. So part of our trip, excuse me. Cindy, let's go on to the next slide. And before I start telling you about Lisbon and such, I love fun facts. Some of you probably listening tonight know that. I think it's a bit of a guide thing. We like fun facts and trivia for sure. So how about a few of those for you tonight, just as we start? I just mentioned, of course, the capital of Portugal, which is indeed Lisbon. Geographically, the country is made up of coastal areas, a lot, in fact, of a coastal area in the country, which means that fish is highly consumed in this lovely country. So lots of fishing, but also low-lying plains in the country and mountains too, the Estrela Mountains. Religion, 9/10 Catholic, so very, very much a Catholic country. Again, geographically, I should say the borders of Portugal, bordered by Spain, the Atlantic Ocean, also the beautiful Azore Islands, and I have visited the island of Madeira. It is stunning. That is also part of the geography too. Regarding economy for Portugal, really heavy on service and manufacturing, not a lot of agriculture in this part of the world, 3% agriculture, that's about it. But some really interesting manufacturing, a couple things that we're going to talk about this evening, marble and also cork production as well too. And I think for many of us, it's hard to think about Portugal without thinking of port wine. Really, you know, in a sense, the two of them are just synonymous. I love random fun facts too. So I have one for you tonight that some of you might know this. The rooster is actually a symbol of Portugal. It's kind of an odd story, but I'm actually joining you tonight, not from warm Vancouver, but from cold Churchill, my home in northern Manitoba. And I had friends in Churchill for several years, around a wonderful bakery here. They were from Portugal. I still remember all the little roosters around that bakery. And so I was thinking about that tonight, how interesting it is that the rooster is indeed a symbol of Portugal. And it's a very odd story. It's a long story, so this is a short version. Basically, it is said that a dead rooster helped an alleged criminal prove his innocence. And that rooster, whose name was Barcelos, is still celebrated to this day. So for Portugal. But we are starting with the lovely city of Lisbon. By the way, everyone, population, city proper, about 508,000, but it has a large metro area of just over 2 million people. In this screen here, not only are we looking at a lovely cityscape there, but we're looking at some of the attractions that we're going to visit. So much beautiful architecture in this country, so much scenic natural beauty as well, but the cities and the places we'll visit, absolutely stunning, and so much history here. And Cindy mentioned UNESCO World Heritage Site. That is a very common theme throughout Portugal, and that tells you something about the extraordinary beauty and the architecture too. We're looking at Belém Tower in the bottom right-hand corner, of your screen. It is a 4-story tower, also known as the ceremonial gateway to Lisbon. It officially Officially, its name, however, is the Tower of St. Vincent, and it dates back to the 16th century, and it has been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since it became one back in 1983. In the center of the screen at the bottom, we're looking at Geronimus Monastery. This is another place that we will certainly have the chance to see during our stay in Lisbon, and it is considered a masterpiece of Manueline architecture. Now, the topic of food. Let's go up to the top left of the screen. I'm sure some of you tonight have heard me say this, but as a lover of travel, I really do love experiencing travel and experiencing new places through their food and drink. And Portugal is a fantastic country to be doing that in. You are looking at a famous pastry up in the top left-hand corner that you will most definitely have the chance to try, the Pastel de Belém. It is considered to be one of the gastronomical wonders of Portugal. Really what it is essentially is a custard tart made with egg yolks, in fact, and it was created by Catholic monks back in the 18th century. So yeah, basically what it is, it's got a nice flaky, crusty outside and a creamy, sweet inside. And looking at that picture, I really just want to eat one. They look really, really good. So that's the Pastel de Belém. And then going down to the bottom left-hand corner, a beautiful traditional tapas dinner. We will have a welcome dinner during our stay in Lisbon, and it will be that traditional tapas style where everybody gets to try all the different foods. And I love tapas style meals. They're a lot of fun, and they always feel really interactive to me. So we'll have a very special welcome dinner in Lisbon as well. Thanks, Cindy. Perfect. Okay, and we're going on now to a really beautiful city. This is the lovely city of Sintra. Population-wise, Sintra is not that big, really. It's about close to somewhere around 30,000 people. But certainly this area is known for its stunning natural beauty and lush vegetation. Not only that, it's also known for its magnificent architecture, as you can plainly see, and castles and palaces as well too. We are looking at the Royal Palace of Sintra in that center shot on the right-hand side of your screen. So the Royal Palace of Sintra was indeed the residence of Portuguese royalty, and it was actually occupied continuously between the 15th and 19th centuries. In fact, just so much history in this part of the world. And Sintra, again, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Going up quickly to the top right-hand corner of the screen, it's really interesting that this point called Cabo de Roca that we're going to visit was considered to be the edge of the world until the 14th century. So yeah, this is where the world ended, everybody, right at this spot, but fortunately it did not. So that is Cabo San Roca, but truly, in all seriousness, it is the westernmost point in continental Europe, and it's also known as Rock Cape. So Rock Cape or Cabo de Roca. And then finally on this slide, we'll go down to the bottom of the screen. Two lovely cities that we're going to be spending a little bit of time in. One is Cascais, and the other one is Estoril. And please forgive me if I mispronounce any place names tonight. It's last week we were talking about Croatia, like Croatia, Portugal too. There are some place names that can be a little bit hard to wrap the tongue around. So Cascais or Cascades, Estoril as well too. These towns at the bottom of your screen. Cascais is a coastal resort town, and traditionally it was also a fishing port as well. As for Estoril, it is a beach town, and it's known for its lively entertainment, and it was also famous for being a luxury destination historically as well. This is, again, I feel like the theme of the night for my part is going to be architecture. I love scenic natural beauty, and we certainly know there'll be plenty of that to enjoy in Portugal too, but you really can't say enough about the incredible architecture of the country of Portugal as well too. So, and again, the other theme of the night, UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is another one of them that we're looking at right now. This time, everybody, let's start on the left-hand side of our screen. Just really magnificent looking buildings there. In Évora, the city that we're looking at right now, it is really very much a Moorish influence. And as I said before, the history is really tremendous. Over 5,000 years of history here. And the Moorish influence is really evident in its its architecture, as well as its history and culture. We're looking at the Cathedral of Évora on the right-hand side of your screen, up at the top, opened back in the year 1746. And we're also looking at the Roman era temples, the small shot in the lower right-hand side of your screen. We're also looking at another stop we're going to make. We're seeing the interior of St. Francis Church. So we will be visiting it as well, too. It is a national monument, and I'll tell you something a little bit strange about St. Francis Church. Specifically on their site, there is a chapel that you will have the chance to view if you want to. It's called Chapel of the Bones. It might not be for everybody, but it is slightly macabre, and I must say quite fascinating as well, too, because that chapel, the Chapel of the Bones, is in fact lined with thousands of human bones and skulls. And if you're wondering where in the heck all those bones came from, they were unearthed from various churchyards. If you have the stomach for it, Google that this evening. Look up images of the Chapel of the Bones. It is really something to behold. So yeah, it truly is lined with human bones and skulls. Mm-hmm. Moving on to this slide. Thanks so much, Cindy. What a beautiful, beautiful town. We are looking at here a lovely city that's actually nicknamed the White City for its marble. So we're looking at the town square in the center on the left-hand side of your screen, and then a smaller photo in the top right-hand side of your screen as well. The city is called Estremos, and Estremos, as I said, also known as the White City for all of that marble. Just incredible marble deposits around Estremos and gleaming white buildings. There is so much marble around Estremos that it's said that even the cobblestones and doorways in Estremos are made from marble, if you can imagine. We're all familiar with marble, of course. As I was saying, this is certainly one of the major exports from the country of Portugal. And something you probably know, but if you didn't, marble does come in various colors too. Certainly the lovely white marble, there's black marble, there's cream colored marble, but the one that's actually sought after most of all is the pink colored marble. And during our visit to Estremos, we're going to have a chance to actually see a marble quarry and learn about the process of extraction. And marble used in everything from architecture to sculptures and so on as well too. Another one of the principal exports of Portugal is cork. And this also is really interesting. That's what we're looking at in the two photos, center and lower on the right-hand side of your screen. Yes, so tremendous amount of cork production in the country of Portugal. In fact, 52% of the world's cork production comes from Portugal. Some really interesting facts to know about cork. It is what they call a sustainable industry, which is really nice. You can harvest that same tree every 9 years for its entire lifespan. So it is a sustainable product, excuse me. So it doesn't kill the tree. You can continue harvesting it every 9 years, and the tree doesn't die. So just kind of a nice thing to know about cork production. But while we visit the cork factory, we'll certainly learn about the many uses for cork. The obvious, of course, wine cork, but there's so many others, and I'm sure I'm not the only one here this evening that has cork products at home. I have a wallet made from cork, and I like my wallet very, very much. So I have a feeling that some of us might have some fun shopping at the cork factory on this tour as well. Thanks, Cindy. Okay, moving on to our next slide here, everyone. We are looking at now a city called Óbidos in the top left-hand corner of the screen. It is known for its medieval history, medieval architecture, and influence as well. So very, very charming and very picturesque town. And I think we can see that just from that slide, even in the top left-hand corner, just how lovely it is. But here's an interesting thing about Óbidos. This is the home of another drink that's very well known in Portugal. Now, of course, we always think about port wine, or certainly some of us too, but another drink called ginja or guinea, depending on the pronunciation, actually comes from this region of the country of Portugal. The actual name for it is longer, but it's shortened to Guinea or Ginja if you pronounce the, depending on how you pronounce the letters with a ya at the end. Anyhow, it's actually made from the morello cherry trees. So what they do is they press and macerate the cherries from the morello cherry trees. And then from there, what happens is the morello cherries are infused with alcohol, and then they add sugar as well too. So you don't want to drink a lot, as you can imagine. It's served in a small little port glass is how you're going to receive it. But when we have it, oh my goodness, speaking of a little port glass, there's a photo in the center at the bottom of the screen. Guess what, everybody? That little port glass we're drinking our ginja from is made of chocolate. So that's fun. So you can drink your little glass of ginja, and then you can eat your glass. So that sounds pretty awesome. One more interesting thing about the ginja drink too is it's very, very common throughout Portugal, in Lisbon certainly too, and other places, to have what they call ginja bars too. And so different places will kind of have their own twist on it. So different ginja bars will have maybe their own special or secret ingredient, as you can imagine, maybe something like cloves or cinnamon as well too. Kind of makes sense that would probably taste pretty good in it, but it's actually a bright red drink. So interesting. And speaking of interesting, the photos that we're looking at on the right hand side of the screen, and I should mention too, before I get to that story, the top right hand corner of the screen are traditional medieval dinner that we get to have as a group as well that evening. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, the traditional medieval dinner. I love stories, and I'm sure many of you listening tonight do as well too. In fact, I think that's one of the things too that's really great about travel is learning stories. And I often think in my life as a tour director and guide as well too, that probably most of the time we don't really remember a lot of numbers and facts and dates and that kind of thing. But so often it seems like if somebody tells us a story, those are the things that we really remember. I'm a big believer in that. I find the story of Fatima really interesting, or Fatima if you prefer, Fatima. It's really an incredible story, and you're looking at three children in the center of the right hand side of the screen. Those kids were 7, 9, and 10 years old in the month of May in the year 1917. When the story goes, something incredible happened to them. They were tending their flock of sheep, and coming home late in the day from tending sheep, they had a spectacular experience. The story goes, they were visited by the Virgin Mary. And when that happened, the Virgin Mary told them that for the next 6 months, she would visit them once a month. And the oldest one, a little girl of 10 years old, was the one that was told she would be the one to report the visions to the public. Well, that's what happened. And this went on for 6 months. And it kind of culminated, or came to its climax, I guess you could say, 6 months later on October 13th in 1917. And what happened was an event called the Miracle of the Sun. Now, today, this is a very, very famous pilgrimage site, and you can see that in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. It is said that every year, somewhere between 6 and 8 million people are drawn to the pilgrimage pilgrimage site at Fatima. But on that day, on October 13th, 1917, the numbers are pretty big. It's estimated that somewhere between 30,000 and 100,000 people showed up. Now, what happened with the miracle of the sun? Well, it's slightly open to interpretation, but regardless, it's pretty fascinating. Some of those people said that the sun actually came towards them, moved in towards them. Some people said that the sun moved in the sky in a zigzag kind of pattern. Some people said it turned into a big pinwheel, and then there were beautiful flashing lights, different colored lights coming out of the sun. And then there were some people who said they didn't see anything at all. But it was the miracle of the sun. And that's what happened back on October 13th, 1917. And thus it has become one of the most famous Catholic shrines in the world. So that is Fatima. And of course, we will have a chance to visit that as well. Okay, moving on to Tomar. Again, another lovely city, about 20,000 people strong. And this is indeed home of the Templar Knights. Fascinating idea, I think, the idea of the Templar Knights, but this was the former seat of the Order of the Templar Knights. There are myths surrounding Tomar that are quite interesting. They say that there is supposedly a hidden treasure, a great hidden treasure somewhere in Tomar left behind by the Templar Knights, and it is supposed to be vast. So somewhere along the lines of Indiana Jones style treasures are somewhere there. But on the topic of the Templar Knights, just very quickly, most historians agree that the Templar Knights actually disbanded about 700 years ago, but there are some people that believe, in fact, what happened is the Templar Knights simply went underground, so to speak, and still exist today. So I've always found it myself to be kind of a mysterious topic, the idea of the Templar Knights. A couple of the places we'll have a chance to visit in Tomar, the convent of Christ. We're looking at that on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Again, another UNESCO World Heritage Site. And going over to the center and the right-hand side, Coimbra, which is home of the historic university and also the medieval former capital as well, too. And then we're just about finished up with my portion, everyone. I'm so sorry. It's so easy to just get excited about topics and realize that I'm talking and talking. Anyways, carrying on to Porto, and Shauna's going to tell us more about Porto. But we are looking at the beautiful Arab room of the Stock Exchange Palace on the left-hand side of your screen, and also in your lower right. In the center, just a little shot there of the city of Porto, which Shauna will be sharing with us. And then finally from me, the top right-hand corner is a really, really fascinatingly beautiful bookstore. It's called Lelo and Ermeo Bookstore. It's actually ranked the third most beautiful bookstore in the world, with its neo-Gothic facade. On the outside, they say only surpassed by its magnificent inside. And just to give you an idea how magical this place is, it said that this is where J.K. Rowling's got her inspiration for the Harry Potter novels, was from the Lelo and Ermeo bookstore in Porto. So that's it from me, everyone, for now. Thank you so much for letting me share the land portion of our Portugal tour with you. And on that note, I would like to turn things over to Shauna.
Oh, Koral, I tell you, you just have brought me back to Portugal, because it wasn't that long ago I was traveling there, and just listening to all your stories and thinking back to how beautiful the country is and the wonderful history is as well.
So yeah, I absolutely. Portugal is definitely on my bucket list, and I can't wait to get there. But at this point, I'm pleased to introduce everybody to Shauna Carter from AmaWaterways, and just a little bit about Shauna. Shauna has been in the travel industry for 41 years. Shauna, you don't look old enough to have been in the industry that long. You've worked for airlines in the past, different tour operators, Princess Cruises for, I think, quite a while. And now you've been with AmaWaterways for 11 years. And I know, we all know in this industry how much you love river cruising. And there's many reasons to love river cruising, which I'm sure you're going to share with us this evening. We know you love the food, we know you love the culture and the incredible history. I mean, what's not to love, right? Anyway, Shauna's traveled much of the world, but one of her favorite trips was traveling through Portugal, visiting Lisbon and cruising on the Douro River, which I know she's excited to tell you all about. Today, Shauna lives in Kelowna and starts her day by walking along the lake with her dog Libby and dreaming about her next adventure, as we all are dreaming of our next adventure. And I mean, Portugal is a great destination to dream about. So anyway, welcome, Shauna, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much, Cindy. And hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. And yes, I'm always dreaming about my next holiday with AmaWaterways, which happens to be Egypt in 3 weeks. I'll be heading over there.
Nice. Wow.
But funny enough, I'm actually going to be coming back to Portugal not long after this trip. So that's why I'm even more excited to be returning to Portugal. It's been a while since I've been there. And so, of course, Koral, you have inspired me. I'm excited to be returning. And here, I love this picture, this beautiful shot of the city of Porto. And it really is this colorful, and there's a great shot of the ship as well, sailing up towards the point where we're going to be docking. And so you really are right in the heart of the city. And that's really one of the things I love about river cruising, is that you come in this beautiful small boutique style hotel, which is floating on these rivers, and then docking right in the heart, so that you can come and go from the ship. You'll be taking your tours and spending time really just enjoying this beautiful, beautiful scenery. So we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So just to take a look at the map, of course, you're going to have your first night on the ship, of course, in the city of Porto, which is wonderful. If you think about how I said we were docked right there, you'll be able to, after dinner, go out and stroll, stretch your legs. You'll have been traveling for the day as you come into Porto. And so you'll have your first night there, and then we'll be traveling along the river. Now you can see the Douro actually goes all the way up into Spain, but it is only navigable to the Spain border. So that entire river area there is a UNESCO site. It's this beautiful, beautiful, and I think that's behind you, Cindy. You have the picture of the Douro.
I do. Yes, yes, I do.
With all the vineyards up the hill on either side.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be stopping at these beautiful spots along the way. So it's very unique in that when you're sailing along the Douro, the whole time you're just seeing this incredible scenery of this UNESCO river valley. Portugal is one of the most unspoiled regions of Europe, and it's also one of the oldest wine regions. So not only port, which is very good, but also all these beautiful red wines, white wines, the Vino Verdes. So, and then we're going to come all the way to Vega Torrón, which is the turnaround point, where we'll go off and we'll spend time in Salamanca. So we actually do venture into Spain. We'll come back to the ship, and then we're going to sail back to Porto. So lots to see along the way. And that'll be 7 nights on board the beautiful AmaDouro. So here's the ship here. You can see it. And up top is that lovely pool deck. You'll be spending your time. It's June. It'll be beautiful and warm. And there you can see the city right behind you. And this ship is not very old, because we built her in 2019 and 2020 came. So we didn't even really get much time to be sailing on her. And then we actually sailed last year in 21 from July all the way through till the end of October, which was fantastic. And now we're just resuming our operations again for Portugal. So the ship only holds 100 people, so nice and small, but still with lots of room, with our beautiful staterooms. And you've got a sun deck there, so you can really take in those beautiful views. And really, you don't want to be in your room. You want to be up on that sun deck where you can see both sides of the river as we're sailing along. And you can see the pool, as I mentioned, and then there's sunshade. So if you want to be out of the sun, you can definitely do that. I think there's some other pictures we have as well, Cindy, of the ship. So we've got balcony staterooms, we have window staterooms. It's, the choice is up to you, and you'll be working with your travel advisor to pick the right room for you. Our beautiful dining room, there is the lounge area. We have a small spa area for massage and hair. There's a small gym on the ship as well, a gift shop. But really, you're going to spend your time up on that top deck in the dining room, enjoying the beautiful food and the wines of Portugal. And then, of course, in our lounge. And you can go to the next slide, Cindy. I think we have some entertainers on board. They'll come in, there'll be local Portuguese entertainers coming on to sing and have some lovely Portuguese music, which is a really lovely way to spend the evening. So at dinner, or I'll just talk about the dining in general, actually. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything's served to you. There are no buffets. Everything is served to you. And for breakfast, we'll have sparkling wine available. You can start your day with a mimosa and coffees and teas and such. Lunch and dinner, we include beer, wine, soft drinks at lunch and dinner, your coffees, teas, you can have as much as you like. And the wonderful thing is you'll also be trying different wines every day from these different areas that we're sailing on along the river. And then also every day for an hour before dinner, we'll have a happy hour. So everybody comes together, talks about their day. They'll be able to have drinks and cocktails and wine and beer, and it's all complimentary. So, and then we're off to dinner. So, and then we have more wine.
Okay, I am definitely coming along, Shauna. That's it. You got me.
And then, as Koral was mentioning, all the beautiful foods and, olives and everything. There's just so much. This picture I especially love because it really shows you the Douro Valley, how beautiful it is. And look at very, very narrow. And there's only 5 locks across that entire river valley. So you'll do them twice. So, but I love it because all the people come up on the top bridge and they look over the lock and they wave. They find it quite fascinating to see us come through, but see how narrow it is. So we actually don't sail in the evenings because the river is so narrow. We only sail in the day, which makes it even more special because you have that time to be visiting these beautiful places, but also just seeing the scenery all the time. So you really don't miss anything, which is just wonderful. So next we're going to go, I think this is when we head into Entre Rios. As you can see here, this is the confluence of the 2 rivers. So you have the Douro River, and then you have the Tamega River. And then in behind there, you can see up on the hill is this beautiful little quaint village. So you'll see some villages along the river, but most of the time we're just seeing wineries. And in Portugal, they call them quintas. So you'll always hear quinta, and that's what it is. That's a winery. So you'll see the vineyards, you'll see the quintas, you'll see some homes, but you don't see, towns and cities all the way along. They're all tucked away in behind the hills and such. So you really have that beautiful scenery. So after we come through into this area, we'll be docking again, and then we're going to go to one of those quintas and have a beautiful lunch. I think the next one is when we head into Regua, perhaps. We can go to the next slide. Yeah, into Regua. Look at how steep some of these vineyards are. It's just the style and the way that they plant the vineyards, and you're going to hear more about that. So we're going to have some scenic touring. Then we're going to come in and see Palacio Anadia, so the Palace of the Counts. And so we'll tour through there. And then, of course, every day, we'll be having lunch and dinner. Sometimes we're ashore and sometimes we're on the ship. So it just depends on each and every day. So we'll do some port wine tasting here. I think there's another slide of the inside of the palace. Look at these beautiful steps. And throughout Portugal, and I think you might have mentioned this, Koral, you'll see the tiles, the beautiful white and blue tiles that are so gorgeous. And really, when you see it, and you get close, you'll be able to sort of learn history through the tiles, because the tiles are always telling a story. So then our next day, I believe we will be going to Salamanca. I think we come into Vegetaron. So this is, if you remember, this is right at the border of Spain, where I told you it would be our turnaround point. So we're docked, we get off the ship, and then we're coaching up into Salamanca. And Salamanca itself is a beautiful UNESCO city. And this is where the oldest university in Europe is here. 700 years old is the university. This is the Plaza Mayor, and we'll have lunch here, and we'll see some flamingo dancing, because when in Spain, you have to see that. And then we'll go and tour around, and they'll tell you, our local guides will tell you the history of this beautiful city, and also about the university. So I won't give it away now, because there's lots of stories to hear later on. There you can see some beautiful shots again of the plaza, the university, and just the city itself. So at this point, we're going to come back to the ship again. And then, as I say, we don't sail at night. So you do get those nights where we're, docked, you can get off, you can walk, it's very safe. And if you just need to stretch your legs or go up on the sun deck and take in those starry nights in the beautiful skies of Portugal, because of course it'll be summertime, right? So then we're going to start sailing again, and then we'll come into, this is Castillo Rodrigo, and this is this hilltop town you can see up in the upper left corner there. It doesn't look high up, but it actually is quite up on the top of this hilltop, and the drive up here is so beautiful. The scenery is really stunning. You'll have a lot of that. So once we get up here, then you can walk the streets through this beautiful old town, and you'll see the cork stores, of course, as Koral was talking about cork, and cork handbags. I think I bought everything in that store: earrings, handbags, everything. So, and then we also go into one of the little, it's kind of like a little restaurant, hilltop wine cafe, so to speak, and they have beautiful nuts and everything, and you can choose all the different things if you want to buy some, but we'll have tastings and we'll have a little drink there. So, once you've walked through the town, if you don't want to walk through the town, you don't have to, but it's really quite unusual. So I would definitely do a little walking around, and you'll be with the guides and they'll tell you some stories. So after that, we're going to come back to the ship, and then where are we next? This is when we go to one of the quintas for dinner. And of course, you're getting to try all the wines, the ports again, and have a beautiful dinner. And, the wine owners or winery, quinta owners are there, and they generally are family owned. So they always have stories to share, which is kind of fun too. So as I say, some of your lunches will be ashore and some of your dinners will be ashore. Otherwise, they're always on the ship as well. So now we're heading, I believe at this point, we're heading back to Regua to come into Lamego. So, we've heard a lot of stories about the religious side of Portugal. And this particular area is considered one of the most important pilgrimage sites in all of Portugal. And it's called the Holy Staircase, or the Sanctuary of Our Lady of Remedies. And it's 700 steps. And you can see as you go along up the staircase, you can just slightly see the blue and white tiles as you come up. The staircase, yes. And right down at the bottom, they're doing some restructuring, but this is where you're going to have some, more wine and bolos tasting. And bolos is a Portuguese bread that's filled with ham and olives and, things like that. So that will be in Lamego, and you can walk up that staircase, but you don't have to. It is quite a climb, but if you're up for it, it's really quite pretty to go along each level and see the staircase right up to the church at the top, the cathedral at the top. Now our next slide, there's the bolos tasting. And just some pictures again. You can see the top of the staircase by the cathedral, and then of course the tiles, and look at that view looking down the staircase. And of course, wine is always just a part of every day. So you'll always find a pitcher of wine. And then we can go to the next slide. There's just another beautiful shot of the staircase there. And they have a Portuguese sparkling wine, and there they call it espumante. So you can have that. Now here's Pinau, and this is, again, see what I mean about how narrow the river is and just how beautiful those vineyards are, you know, just coming from top to bottom right down. And the water is beautiful and clean, and you'll see kayakers, and it's known very much as a recreational area as well, but really, really pretty. Then we move on to, are we coming? Let's see the next slide. Now we're coming back to Porto. Yeah. So it's 7 nights, and it doesn't seem like it's long, but there's a lot in there. Of course, I'm not giving you every single detail, but when we come back to Porto, we're going to have time. See, we'll be docked in there again, and you can walk right into the city. You can walk across the bridge. There's a tram you can take. There's lots of things you can do right. And we're not docked on that side of the city. We're docked over here where you can't see it, but it's easy enough to get up to. But you're going to be touring the city and seeing all of that with Koral and with our tour guide, so you'll have plenty of time. Graham's, one of the oldest port producers in Portugal, is up on the top of the hill, and so lots to see and do here. And of course, fish, sardines, everything. There's a shot. We'll also be going to the Saubento railway station, which is the picture here you can see. And again, the tiles tell the story of the history of Portugal. So they'll be explaining all of that to you as you walk around, and we'll be trying all the different types of port, you know, the tawnies, the ambers, many different ports. And as I say, the red wines, the white wines, and then you will have the Vinho Verde. And when you see that, it's not referring to the wine as being green in terms of color, Verde being green in terms of young, a young aged wine, so a very young wine, and it's quite yummy, delicious, cold on a hot day to have some Vinho Verde. So go to your local liquor store and try some Vinho Verde before you go, and maybe you'll see some of those along the way on the river cruise. The next slide we have, if you could go there, Cindy, is, I think we're coming.
That's it. Yeah, we are coming to the end. Yeah. So that last evening, that last evening in Porto, we'll have the gala dinner, the captain's farewell, and champagne reception, and so on before for our last evening on board the beautiful AmaWaterways.
Yes.
And I'm sure you are thrilled to be going back to Portugal, not only Egypt, but Portugal. I mean, my gosh, Shauna, I think we all want to have you adopt us so we can join you. But, I just want to say a great thank you again for sharing your love and experience with Portugal and sailing the luxurious AmaWaterways through the Douro Valley. And I know you're going to hang around here and stick around for the questions. So
Yes.
I'm sure we're going to have plenty come through. So we're happy to have you here to help answer those. So at this point, I am going to invite Koral to come back in, and she's just going to chat with us a little bit, tell us all about what the role of our Westworld tour director is on when you're traveling internationally with a group. So again, thank you, Shauna, and Koral, take it away.
All right, Shauna, that was wonderful. I was just thinking, woman after my own heart. It's so easy to be enthusiastic when we're talking, and there's just so much to say. So that was great. Well done. I won't take a lot of time at this point, everyone, but as Cindy said, I just wanted to touch on very quickly, just to kind of reiterate the fact that with Westworld, that when you are traveling internationally, wherever you're going, you still have a Westworld tour director always accompanying you, whether it is myself or another one of our directors. Our role does change a little bit when we're traveling overseas. I always feel that as the Westworld director, whereas in North America, we're doing all of your commentary, we're doing all of that. Overseas, it's a little bit different because we have local guides everywhere we go. We'll have a driver and a local guide. And I'm also really a big fan of that too, because I believe it's very, very important that you have local guides that are sharing their country with you. So our role with Westworld turns into really more role of coordinator than anything. We're helping you navigate. We're dealing with all of the little details with the flights, all the transportation, whether it's motor coaches and tour buses, getting to the riverboat in this situation, all those sorts of things. Those are the things that we are taking care of for you. And anything else that comes up, there could be so many different needs, passenger needs that comes up. Maybe it's something like we need to find you, somewhere to get medication for an upset tummy, or who knows, it can be anything like that. A lost item, perhaps. There's so many different things that can happen. And we're there to take care of all those things for you. And also just to coordinate your day so that you always are up to date on what's happening, where we're going, what we're doing. Basically, what it comes down to, everyone, is just the idea that for each and every one of you traveling with us, we want your experience to be worry-free travel. We don't want you to have anything more urgent or more worrisome to do than think about, what you're going to eat or what fun thing you're going to do that day, or maybe what kind of wine you're going to have.
Maybe.
I'm just scared. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Koral, I know that we have a lot of people that haven't traveled with us before watching us this evening. And one thing that Westworld Tours does that we find is loved by all of our passengers is that prior to the tour departure, our tour director, who's taking you on that journey, contacts you personally and they answer any questions that you might have. And Koral, let them know, like, what kind of questions do you get from when you're making those calls, and what is your role when you're making those calls besides introducing yourself?
Right. The most common questions that we'll get, Cindy, will be like, well, my carry-on is this size. Is that going to be a problem? Is that going to be too big for the coaches and too big for the airplane? Something like that is really common. I'm concerned about the weight of my bag, things like that. But it could be a question about currency, of course. It could be a question about the international flight, how long it is. And there's all the little things that are really important to think about. What kind of adapter I need, if I need, to charge my phone in the evening, things like that. There's lots of things to ask, but I love too that we take the time to do that phone call. It can often take a little while to make all those phone calls before a trip, but it is worth it. It really is. And I think it's great with Westworld that that's part of the tour, that you will be called ahead of time.
Yes, absolutely. It's great. I know, like, even for myself going on a trip, there are so many questions that need an answer for, and it's great to know that the tour director has your answers. So, it's wonderful. It's very peace of mind. And like you said, we just want everybody to enjoy their vacation and not to worry about the little stuff. That's what you're there for.
You're right. And I think you just said it, Cindy, peace of mind. That's what we want you to have when you're traveling. So, on that note too, I love the idea that when we're traveling as a group, walking around a big city, we're having a walking tour. Maybe we're just navigating through the airport. I know for one, I like to have my big Westworld sign so nobody gets behind, or if they do get behind, they know that, again, someone is actually watching out for them to make sure they don't get lost. So it's all part of group travel. And again, everyone, the idea is just that you're taken care of and you get to do nothing but just focus on enjoying your vacation. And that's what we want.
Yeah, absolutely, Koral. You said it perfectly. Well, I really appreciate, again, you reviewing that with us. And I know that you're anxious to get touring again. And it's not going to be too long for you either. You might not be going to Egypt, but you are going to be taking one of our groups to Victoria starting on April 18th. So I know you are really anxious and excited to get back on the road again. And we're excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. I can't wait. I'm so excited for our Victoria tour next month.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I have some really exciting news to share with everybody who's joined us this evening and watching up to this point before we get into questions. So, here we go. We've got an unheard of savings. If you can put your deposit down and book before the end of business on Friday, March 11th, you will save 20% off on this incredible journey through Portugal. It's really an unheard of deal. And we hope everybody watching tonight can take advantage of it. We'll definitely find the space for you. That's for sure. Won't we, Shauna?
Well, we definitely will. And I just want to add to what you said there, Cindy, because I never see offers like that for Portugal.
I know.
And Portugal is actually very full this year. We don't have a lot of space left, and 2023 is even fuller. So we definitely want you to come and join us this year. Come and travel and try everything. It's just a wonderful, wonderful place to come and visit.
I couldn't agree with you more, Shauna, and I know Koral feels the same way. So at this point, I am going to open for questions. I do see that we do have a few here. And again, I'm glad you two are with me to answer these questions. So let's get to a couple of questions here. We do have one here. Can you answer at the end of the presentation, what is the activity level on this tour? And we do not want any bicycle tours. And are there other options? Well, that is an excellent question because we really didn't elaborate on that too much. And Koral, why don't you speak to the land portion? Obviously we've got some walking involved in some of the city tours and things like that. And then Shauna, maybe you could speak to, what the options are for their tours when we're doing those local excursions. Okay.
Sure.
So Koral, take it away.
Yeah, sounds good, Cindy. This tour definitely not as heavy on the walking as though some of you may have been joining us last week for our Croatia tour. That's a tour very heavy on walking. This tour not as heavy as that for sure. So lots of land touring by coach. Of course, we'll be off the coach a lot at some of these historical sites we're visiting. And I would just say one thing to keep in mind, everyone. I know it's something I sure think about. When I've been traveling in Europe in the past, is cobblestones, what I'm bringing for footwear. I love my pretty sandals, but there are places where you just do not want to be wearing those sandals. Definitely you want to be bringing those sport sandals, good pair of Skechers, something like that along to have in your feet. Wear your pretty sandals when you're on the river cruise. But yeah, so some walking, but not as heavy as some tours for sure.
Thanks, Koral. And Shauna, can you speak to the options for the river cruising portion?
Sure. So Portugal's quite different than the rest of Europe in the sense of the tours. In all our other European areas, of course, we have biking, but biking is always offered as a tour. It's not the only tour. We always have many other choices. However, there is no biking in Portugal. As you saw, it's all lots of hills. So we don't do any biking there. And you have walking in every day, but nothing, terribly difficult. You can walk
nothing
up that
strenuous.
staircase.
Yeah,
you could do that 700 stairs, or you can walk around the town. We always have choices for our guests for, sort of a less active tour or a more active tour. So there's always choices, and we can always find a place to sit and rest. So it's not a problem at all.
Okay, awesome.
I just want to add in too, that's something that I've really loved and respected about traveling with AmaWaterways in the past. What Shauna was just saying, how there will always be a more active walking tour and then the less active walking tour. So it's fantastic, for guests who aren't big walkers, that you always have that option.
Yeah, that's fabulous because not everybody has the same activity level. So that's great that the options are there. Thank you. We do have a question here from Judy has asked, do you know if you will be offering this in the fall of this year? And unfortunately, no, this is our one-of-a-kind President's Tour, which is completely customized to include the river cruise on the AmaWaterways. So no, this tour is only available on the one departure. Yeah, hopefully you can join us and the timing will work for you because it is a fabulous, fabulous tour. And Cynthia is asking, please explain the category differences between A, B, D, and E. Now, those pertain to specifically your stateroom on board the AmaWaterways. And Shauna, you're obviously, we do have space available in those 4 different categories. And Shauna, you can maybe best address that.
So your E and D categories are window staterooms. And so you basically have 2 picture windows and they're the same. It's just there's a category category E. Yeah, so there's not a lot of difference. It doesn't really matter. They're both window categories. And then we have the balcony staterooms. And so those would actually have a door that slides open and you can go out and sit on your balcony. So having a balcony is lovely, but remember what I said about being up on top of the sun deck. That's where you get that picturesque view of both sides of the river. Because if you're only sitting on one side, you only see one side of the river.
Right.
However, for those of you who want the fresh air, because the windows don't open, and all the rooms are air conditioned, they're all self-controlled. There's Wi-Fi on the ship as well that's complimentary. So, and in the staterooms, whether it's a window, a suite, or a balcony, you always have your slippers and your bathrobe and all your amenities as well. So it's
Great. Yeah.
Matter of choice.
And yeah, it's basically location more than anything that determines the category. And like you said, the A and B both offer the balconies that open. D and E have the larger windows, 2 windows, and they don't open. Thank you, Cynthia. That was a great question. And thanks, Shauna, for that response. We had another question here asking, can we add on days of stay in Lisbon or Porto before and or after the package tour? Absolutely. Those arrangements can definitely be made. Definitely. That's an absolute yes. Another question here, is air included in the price? We'll be talking about prices with departures from Western Canada. No, this year we did not include air on this particular tour. Reason being is because we know there are many people that are sitting with airline credits from canceled trips, and that perhaps that's something that they wanted to use up. So you would definitely recommend that you contact your local travel agent, your preferred travel agent, and they can be more than happy to assist you with securing your airfare and providing you with a price on that as well. And another question here. If the rapid COVID tests are still necessary, will this be arranged? That's a good question. How is AmaWaterways and the AmaWaterways handling the COVID testing at this point?
So
Shauna?
For our guests, well, right now it looks like some of the testing is being removed, and that changes daily. So
exactly,
you'll find that, before you leave the country, and of course, Portugal is really happy to be welcoming Canadians in Portugal. Now, at the end of the trip, if you're flying right back to Canada, we will arrange, should you require a test, we don't know yet, require one, we will arrange it all and have it done, set up for you so you can get your testing before you fly back, but it is at your own expense. So it's not a huge expense like it is here in Canada, but we will make all the arrangements.
And another thing too, like I said, it's now just the rapid test versus the PCR tests, which make it a lot quicker, a lot less expensive. So, and it's an ever-changing situation, between today and when this tour actually goes, it could be completely different. Those are things that we always are monitoring and adapting to as needed. So that's a good question, though. I appreciate that. Now it says that another question here by Hannah. The trip, how many days and 7 days cruising in the ship starting Lisbon? So I'm thinking you're asking us how many days is the tour in total. So just let me see if I can get that information for you. I know that we're going to follow up with an email too that will give you a link to the entire itinerary to this trip and all the details and all the good stuff will be coming your way. We'll be following up with everybody on that. And Koral, do you happen to have that information in front of you right now? Could you respond to that one? Thank you.
16 days all told.
16 days in total.
And that's
perfect.
including our flights, our international flight from Canada to Portugal and back again.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So it's about 9 days of touring then and 7 days on board cruising. So. And how much is the cost of this trip was another question that Hannah asked, which is our good questions. As I said, the link will be coming out to you. We'll send you all that. We'll have your pricing information available on that link. And, by any means, if there's, you can certainly contact us, reach out to us via email at information@westworldtours.com. And we will respond to you as quickly as possible with an answer. Cynthia is asking, are gratuities included in the price? Now, I know, Shauna, there are portions of the tour, I know that we do not include tour tips or gratuities for our tour director or our coach driver for the land portion. That is always at your own discretion, as are most gratuities. If there's any included meals, we do include on that land portion, we do include gratuities for any included meals as well. So that is a for sure. And Shauna, on board the cruise, I don't have the information in front of me right here, but how, Koral, is that on there as
Cindy,
well? Can you? Yeah, Leanne.
Cindy, we do include the cruise gratuities for this trip.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to confirm, and I just didn't have that information in front of me. So thanks, Leanne, for jumping in there. Again, all of that information will be coming out to you via email. And Hannah thanked us very much for our answering her questions. And Leanne, can you please let us know if there were any questions on Facebook that we need to address before I conclude?
There are none on Facebook.
I'm sorry, none on Facebook?
Nope, there are none.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Well, I hope we've answered all your questions. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. And by all means, reach out to us at information@westworldtours. You can follow us on Facebook. There's more information there. And if you need more info, you can contact your local travel agent, or again, reach out to us by email at information@westworldtours.com. And I just want to say again, another thank you to Shauna and Koral for joining us again. Your information is invaluable. Your passion is apparent. And you've made me definitely want to join this tour and go to Portugal. So thank you again. And everybody, thank you for joining us this evening. And please take care.